It's ARIRANG's second night in New Jersey, MetLife Stadium, August 2nd, 2026. And if you've been following this tour at all, you already know Jimin has a way of turning the smallest moment into the one everyone's still talking about days later. This time it happened in the middle of a set. No warning, no big production behind it. Just him, a mic, and thousands of fans standing in air so thick and humid you could practically see it hanging over the stadium lights. And what he said next, in a moment fans in the crowd caught, translated, and shared within minutes, is exactly why people can't stop replaying this clip. If you're new here, welcome, and if you've been watching our ARIRANG coverage from going all the way through Europe, you know we don't do clickbait without substance. So stick around, because this one is worth every second, and if you want every viral moment from this tour the second it drops, hit that subscribe button now before you forget. Here's the thing about touring in August across the eastern seaboard of the United States. It is brutal. New Jersey in the middle of summer doesn't just mean heat. It means humidity that sits on your skin, that makes your clothes stick to you within minutes, that turns a 3-hour outdoor stadium show into an endurance test for absolutely everyone involved, performers and fans alike. And BTS wasn't performing in some climate-controlled dome. This was MetLife Stadium, open sky, no roof, no relief, just August pressing down on tens of thousands of people who had waited months, some of them years, for this exact night. And in the middle of all of that, Jimin stopped. He didn't stop because something went wrong. He didn't stop because of an emergency. He stopped because he looked out at the crowd, really looked, the way he tends to do, scanning section by section like he's trying to make eye contact with as many people as physically possible, and he had something he needed to say. Not a scripted meant, not a rehearsed bit between songs. Just him, catching his breath, and being honest, and according to the fan translations that circulated almost immediately afterward, here's roughly what he told them. He said today was really humid and hot. He said it plainly, almost like he was checking in with a friend about the weather. And then he admitted something you don't always hear idols admit on stage, that he and the rest of the members were feeling it too. That it was hard, that performing through this kind of heat wasn't easy for them either. And if you've watched enough of these ARIRANG stops, you know that admission alone is rare. These are performers trained to make everything look effortless, to smile through exhaustion, to never let the audience see the cost of what they're doing up there. So when Jimin says out loud, in front of tens of thousands of people and every camera in that stadium, that it's tough, that's not a throwaway line, at least according to how fans on the ground understood and translated it. That's him choosing honesty over the polished performance persona, and ARMY caught it immediately. But here's where it turns from relatable into something that actually made people tear up. Because right after admitting how hard the heat was hitting him, Jimin didn't pivot to complain or ask for sympathy. He turned it around completely. Per the fan translations making the rounds, he said that watching the crowd, smiling so beautifully, singing at the top of their lungs, dancing like the heat wasn't even touching them, made him feel like even a memory built in conditions this difficult could still end up being beautiful. Read that again. He looked at a stadium full of exhausted, overheated, drenched in sweat fans, and instead of seeing struggle, he saw beauty. He saw devotion. He saw thousands of people choosing to be fully present with him despite every physical reason to want to go sit somewhere shaded and cool. That's the whole moment, as far as we can piece together from what fans captured and translated in real time. That's why it's spreading. Because it's not a grand gesture, it's not a viral stunt, it's not choreographed for the cameras. It's Jimin being unbelievably present with his fans in a moment of shared discomfort and finding something genuinely tender to say about it. And if you're someone who's been following his career for any length of time, this isn't actually surprising. It's consistent. It's the same instinct we saw play out just a few weeks earlier in Brussels, when Jimin stopped an entire stadium show mid-performance because he noticed one single fan in distress in the crowd. Not a viral moment he was chasing. Not a moment built for content. He just noticed, and he acted. New Jersey is a different flavor of that same instinct. Instead of one fan, it's the entire stadium, and instead of a crisis, it's collective exhaustion and brutal heat. But the through line is identical. Jimin pays attention. Jimin sees the people in front of him as individuals experiencing something real, not as a faceless crowd he's performing at. What's interesting is how differently these two moments demand something of him. Brussels required urgency. A split-second read of a single person's distress, a decision to break formation and act before the moment passed. New Jersey required something slower, almost more vulnerable, standing in front of an entire stadium, admitting his own limits out loud, and trusting that honesty wouldn't be read as weakness. It's easy to underestimate how much nerve that takes. An idol at his level has spent over a decade being told, implicitly and explicitly, that the show has to look seamless no matter what's happening underneath. Choosing to say, "This is hard for me too," in front of tens of thousands of people, live, unscripted, with no way to take it back, that's not a small thing, even if it only takes him a few seconds to say it. And if you think about what it actually takes to notice something like that in the moment, it says a lot. Picture where he was standing. 3-hour show. His own body soaked through. His own energy depleting song after song. Choreography that doesn't let up. Vocals that don't get easier as the night goes on. And in the middle of managing all of that, he's still clocking the emotional and physical state of the people 50, 100, 200 yards away from him. He's still finding the bandwidth to translate what he's noticing into words that land, that make people feel seen instead of just entertained. That's not something you can fake in front of a stadium full of people holding up phones. Either you actually feel it, or the words come out hollow. And judging by how instantly this clip started circulating, how fast fans in that crowd started posting, subtitling, and reacting to it, nobody in that stadium walked away thinking it was hollow. Now, let's talk about why this particular moment is hitting different for people who weren't even there. Because this is the part that makes it more than just a nice fan service line. This is the part that makes it universal. Almost everyone watching this clip, whether they've been ARMY for a decade or they just clicked on this video because the title caught their eye, has had some version of this experience. Showing up somewhere exhausted, pushing through physical discomfort because someone, mattered enough to make it worth it, and having someone notice that effort, actually acknowledge it, instead of just accepting it as expected. That's rare in any relationship, let alone in the relationship between a global superstar and an audience of tens of thousands of strangers. Most performers say thank you for coming. Jimin, at least by every account translated out of that stadium, looked at the cost his fans were paying just to stand there and told them he saw it, and that it moved him. Think about the last time someone in a position of power over your time or attention actually stopped to notice what it cost you to show up for them. A boss, a teacher, even a friend. It doesn't happen often, and when it does, it tends to stick with you far longer than the moment itself. That's the emotional mechanism behind why a 15-second clip from a stadium in New Jersey is making people who have never been to a BTS concert in their life stop scrolling and watch it twice. It's not really about K-pop at that point. It's about being seen. If this is the kind of BTS coverage you actually want, not just clips, but the context and the pattern behind why these moments keep happening, make sure you're subscribed, because we're covering every single stop of this tour as it happens. And comment below if you were actually in that MetLife crowd on night 2, because I guarantee some of you reading this were standing right there when he said it. There's also something worth sitting with about the specific choice of words here, as far as we can tell from how fans rendered it into English. He didn't say, "Thank you for coming despite the heat." He didn't say, "I'm sorry it's so hot." He said that watching them made even a difficult memory become a beautiful one. That's a reframe. That's Jimin taking a shared negative experience. Everyone sweating, everyone uncomfortable, everyone physically struggling under an August sun, and choosing out loud in real time to define what that memory would mean going forward. He wasn't just observing the discomfort, he was actively rewriting the narrative of the night for everyone in that stadium. Years from now, when those fans think back to New Jersey Night 2, they're not primarily going to remember the humidity. They're going to remember that Jimin looked at them, understood what they were going through, and told them it made him feel something beautiful. That's the memory he built for them, in real time, with a single unscripted sentence. And that's really the through line across this entire ARIRANG tour if you've been paying attention. Munich had the viral Holland walk and Jimin dribbling a ball across the stage mid-butter. Pure joy, pure spontaneity, the kind of moment that makes headlines because it's fun and unexpected. Brussels had him stopping the show entirely to make sure one fan was okay. London had those quieter, almost private soundcheck moments where he's just being himself before the lights come up. And now New Jersey gives us this. An idol standing in front of a soaked, exhausted crowd and finding real tenderness in the middle of physical hardship. Every stop on this tour keeps adding to the same portrait. Someone who is constantly, instinctively tuned into the people in front of him, whether the moment calls for playfulness, urgency, or quiet honesty. There's a reason this kind of moment tends to perform especially well with American audiences specifically, and it's worth naming instead of just assuming everyone already gets it. US viewers discovering BTS through a clip like this one aren't necessarily arriving with years of context about the group's discography or trajectory since debut. What they're responding to is simpler than that. It's the emotional literacy on display. It's watching someone at the absolute peak of a demanding, high-pressure profession choose vulnerability over polish, choose honesty over performance, in front of the biggest possible audience with nothing strategic to gain from it. That's a value a lot of American viewers recognize and respond to even outside any K-pop context entirely, the idea that real strength includes admitting when something is hard instead of pretending it isn't. And when that instinct comes from someone who was performing at this exact stadium weeks earlier alongside some of the biggest names in Western pop music, it closes a gap that sometimes exists for viewers who see K-pop as something foreign, something they're only watching from the outside. This moment doesn't need any of that distance. It plays exactly the same whether someone has followed BTS since 2013 or has never heard a single one of their songs before clicking on this video. That's what makes it built for the algorithm in the truest sense. Not because it was engineered to be shareable, but because the emotional core underneath it needs zero translation to land. If you've made it this far, you clearly care about these moments as much as we do, so do us a favor and drop a like on this video. It genuinely helps push content like this to more ARMY who might be missing out on these stories, and it costs you nothing but a second of your time. Let's also talk briefly about what it means that this happened specifically at MetLife, specifically on night 2 of a New Jersey stop that comes packed with its own significance. This wasn't just any American tour date. This was BTS returning to a stadium they'd stepped onto only weeks earlier for one of the biggest stages in the world, the World Cup final halftime show, sharing a bill with some of music's biggest global names. Coming back to headline their own show, on their own terms, for 2 full nights, in front of an audience that came specifically for them, that already carries weight. Add the physical toll of an outdoor August show in the Northeast. Add the reality that these are members who, not too long ago, were completing mandatory service before reuniting for this very tour, and the emotional stakes of every single night on this run start to look a little different. These aren't just concerts. There's something closer to a reunion tour with the added pressure of an entirely new album to prove, an entirely new production to execute. Night after night, city after city, climate after climate. Against that backdrop, Jimin stopping to acknowledge the heat, to acknowledge that it's hard for him too, reads less like idle chatter and more like a genuinely human moment breaking through an otherwise massive, high-stakes production. And this is only night 2 of the US leg. After New Jersey, the tour keeps pushing north and south through the American summer. More outdoor stadiums, more heat, more of exactly the conditions that made this moment happen in the first place. If this is a pattern, if Jimin keeps responding to physical hardship with the same instinct to notice and to name what he's seeing, then New Jersey might not even end up being the most memorable stop of this stretch. It might just be the first of several moments like it, each one adding another layer to the same story this tour keeps telling, that behind the record-breaking numbers and the sold-out stadiums, there's still someone up there paying close enough attention to notice when the people who came for him are struggling, and caring enough to say something about it. It's also worth pointing out how quickly this kind of moment travels once it's out there. Within what felt like minutes, fan accounts were already clipping it, translating it, subtitling it for international audiences who weren't fluent in Korean, adding their own captions about how it made them feel. That's the ARMY machine at its most efficient, turning a 15-second unscripted moment into something that reaches corners of the world Jimin will probably never even know about directly. And that's exactly the kind of moment we exist to cover here, because clips like this deserve more than 15 seconds of context. They deserve the why behind them. So here's what we know, laid out plainly, based on what fans on the ground captured and translated. Night 2 in New Jersey, brutal heat, brutal humidity, a 3-hour show already taking its toll. Jimin pauses. He admits the conditions are hard, for the fans and for the members. And then, without missing a beat, he tells the crowd that watching them smile, sing, and dance through all of it turns even a hard night into something beautiful. It's simple. It's honest. It's completely unscripted. And it's exactly the kind of moment that reminds people why they fell for this group in the first place. Not the choreography, not the production value, not the record-breaking numbers, but the human being standing at the center of all of it who still, after everything, stops to notice the people who showed up for him. If this story moved you even a little, don't scroll past without leaving a comment telling us what part hit hardest. Was it the honesty about the heat, or the way he flipped it into something beautiful? We read every single one, and it genuinely shapes what we cover next on this channel. And if you haven't already, subscribe now, because between now and the end of this tour there are dozens more nights, dozens more stadiums, and if this run has taught us anything, it's that Jimin is going to keep giving us moments exactly like this one, unplanned, unscripted, and completely unforgettable. We'll see you in the next video.